make it. I hear this so often, and I hear it more and more. It is such terrible advice. It is such terrible advice. You'll find that people will say that, especially people who've already kind of made it, they'll say, hey, you just got to fake it till you make it, pretend like. The problem is that, let's say that you're going to pretend like you are, what's something that you pretend like you are so that you can fake it till you make it?
A BTS member.
A what?
Sorry, I meant a boy band.
A boy band member.
Yeah.
So you could pretend that you're someone famous, let's say, right? And so you start to act like you're someone famous. And then a strange thing happens, you start to become famous, but not like genuinely famous. You kind of start to self-promote. And you start getting some of the accolades of being famous. You get some of the benefits and some of the rewards of being famous without ever actually putting in the work to become famous. And especially when we think of fame itself as being the thing that we're pursuing, rather than, like, for example, in this case, the music. What was the band you said?
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys. Okay, so for example, you're going to pretend to be a Backstreet Boy member or whatever. But think about what it is that it took for those guys to become part of that group. And as much as we might smirk and laugh at them, I wonder if anybody in here has put in even 0.25% of the amount of work that they put in to become who they are. It's kind of like, I hear people trash talk Justin Bieber all the time. They laugh. And yet I wonder if anybody in here wouldn't change their life like that to have his, to be who he is and to have what he does. And the same thing, how did he become famous? Well, he practiced his ass off singing. And then he got very lucky. So Usher saw him on YouTube and contacted him, and of course the rest is history. But the idea is that he was in a place that when Usher was on YouTube, he happened to have that video up there at that time, and opportunity meant practice. So that's where that intersection happened. He wasn't faking it until he made it. He was working hard until he made it. And so my point is that if we fake it, then we're getting some of the rewards and some of the benefits from it, that kind of eliminates the need to work hard. And then if you don't work hard, you're never going to actually make it. You have to put in the effort to do that, and you have to be willing to put in the work that nobody else is willing to put in. That's why it is that we know who these really famous people are. Whether we like their stuff or not, you have to acknowledge that at least they have these things that people say that we're after. They have the money, they have the fame, they have talent. And again, talent, whether you like their stuff or not, that's different. It's like, I don't know if anybody in here likes jazz. I don't like jazz. It's just not my thing. And I know people who absolutely love it. I can appreciate it, I can respect it. If I listen to a jazz musician play, as a musician, I can appreciate what they're doing, but it just isn't my thing. There are a lot of musicians like this. And so it's a matter of putting in the effort to develop the talent so that you aren't having to rely on this thing called hope. Now, hope is this thing where I guess blind hope is the way we'd be thinking about it in that case. You're hoping that, oh, maybe if I just fake it, people start to believe it, and then it's going to happen. Yeah, but I guess the question again is, what is it that you're faking? Are you faking having a great singing voice? Because the time is going to come when a room full of people are going to fold their arms, look at you and go, okay, sing, go. And you're going to have to be able to actually do it. And not just do it at like a pretty good level, but you're going to have to blow these people away. You're going to have to give them a reason to stop and go, this person in this room at this moment is worthy of our time, because there's hundreds of people with talent lined up to get that position. There has to be something about you that kind of separates, and I guess that's the question we'd have to ask ourselves. What is it about me that separates me from everybody else? And it's not even just in that one area. If you're talking about, if any of you guys want to go to college in a couple of years, you're going to have to write these personal statements, these essays. And if you're applying, let's say, for example, you work really hard and you have a 4.2 GPA. Every year, UCLA could fill up their entire freshman class with students with 4.2s. In fact, they could double their freshmen. They have enough people applying there with 4.2s that they could fill up their entire freshman class twice over with people with 4.2s. So what is it about you that separates you? But I have really good grades. So does everybody else. And then when you go to a university, you're going to hear, a professor might ask you that question. How many of you guys in here were your valedictorian or your salutatorian? Like half the hands in the room are going to go up. So yeah, you're special at that one place, and that separates you, but that's what kind of got you into the position where you have the opportunity to become something really special, genuinely special. Not just fake it until you make it, because let's face it, here, if we're being honest, you can't fake it until you make it. You can just, be, complete work and be nice, and everyone, oh my goodness, they'll give you all kinds of high grades here. There's a teacher, they're not here anymore, they retired. But this one teacher straight up told me, yeah, if a student is nice to me and helps me pass out papers, I won't give them anything less than a B. And if they actually do their work, well, I'll give them an A. And I know there's a lot of that kind of goes on. And it's not just here, by the way. It's schools all across the country. And so you can fake it to a certain point, but the problem is then you're going to find yourself, if you aren't truly prepared, you're going to find yourself in front of a professor who's really not going to care about your social anxiety or your mental health or any of these other bullshit excuses that we've kind of planted into your head in the past couple of years as being good enough. And I tell you this, not out of anger or frustration, but I tell you this because it's better that you hear it here than that you go out into the world and you find it and you encounter it out there. Because the first time that you hear this should not be in front of a professor when you go to them and say, and by the true story, I wasn't here for, I didn't get my essay in on time because my father died. And my family I had to go to the funeral. I genuinely heard a professor say, yeah, but it was due that day. But there was a death in the family, then you should have done it early. You shouldn't be waiting till the last minute anyway, so too bad. And then we might suddenly go, what an asshole. There was a deadline, you knew about the deadline, the professor has nothing to do with the death of your family member, and there's a reason that the deadlines are in place. It's not just to be a jerk, but it's because the professor also has a schedule that they have to maintain. They have to work the grading of these things into a certain timeline. And again, selfishness isn't living the way that you want to live. Selfishness is expecting other people to live the way that you want them to. You signed up for the class, you agreed to the timelines, you agreed to the standards in the syllabus, and you agreed to have those things in on time. You didn't put an asterisk there that said, unless something happens. And that professor now has to maintain his timeline in his own life. And he doesn't know you from Adam. You're a student of his, you're a face in a row of chairs, as far as they're concerned. And that's so mean. Aren't they the same thing to you, though? Really? And do you guys take a personal interest in the personal lives of your teachers, or someday your professors? And unfortunately, this is the way that the world actually genuinely works. And so the question becomes, why do we treat it differently here? And if you understand the answer to that question, you'll understand the answer to something really, really important, by the way. And so we can, again, faking it, fine, you can get the accolades of it, you can get some of the rewards. You can't get the psychological rewards of it, by the way, because you know you didn't actually earn it. You know that you haven't actually gone through with it. But you can get some of the rewards and benefits. Maybe if that's the thing that you're after, maybe that's good enough for you. But again, the day is going to come when you're going to have to stand in front of somebody and prove your worth, prove your mettle. And all of the excuses, all of the everything are going to go by the wayside. And again, don't take this in a finger-wagging way. All of your excuses are going to, that's not it at all. The point is that I don't want you to show up somewhere and have that opportunity and your preparation, but your preparation be lacking and the opportunity go right past you. All because we kind of consoled ourselves with the idea of, well, I have a reason that I'm not doing this right now. I have a good reason. So this happened, this bad thing happened, or whatever. Think back, last year actually, I had a student who was homeless because his parents died. And he was supposed to go live with his aunt, but he never really knew his aunt when he was growing up. And so he didn't want to do that, and so he found himself homeless and trying to go from friend's house to friend's house to friend's houses. He never told me. I knew it because I knew people who knew him, and they told me this was going on in his life. And that person never came to me and had an excuse for anything. The person turned in their work, and they actually earned an A in the class. And I look at that person, I think, my gosh. And after class was over, I told him I knew about it. And his thing was like, yeah. And his answer was just, sometimes we face hardships in life. Hardships. Both of your parents died in a car accident, and you're homeless. That's just a hardship to you when you're 18? Can you imagine what this person is going to overcome in their lives? And I get it. Not everybody has that mettle. Not everybody has that ability to do that. But my God, can you imagine what you could accomplish if you did? If if you practiced it, if you strengthened yourself in these things. And again, the truth is that you can't imagine what it's like, because that's one of those things you have to actually do and get a taste of it. Some of you can get a feel for it because some of you do overcome some things, some difficult things. And some of you fall into the comfort of having these ready-made excuses that we make as teachers and administrators. I get that. And whichever one you choose is entirely up to you, and it's your life, it's nobody else's. It's your call. And maybe you can make it work in some other way. But I'm just thinking about that other person. God, can you possibly imagine where they're going to be 10, 15 years down the road? Nothing. This person's parents died in a car crash, and that's just a hiccup in this person's life. They still managed to overcome it, everything. You know, I can't imagine anything that's going to stop this person in their life. And I still talk to him, and I'm glad to know him, because he's probably going to be very rich one day. And it's good to have rich friends. And he's also had an interesting feel, which was, he said, I didn't want people to feel sorry for him. And that was his thing. He wanted to know that he was actually earning the things that he had. You know? And again, those are two types of people. Some of us love to have people feel sorry for us. Some of us hate it. And you know what kind of personality type you are. And you can go back to the articles that we're reading right now about childhood trauma, and you can kind of start to figure out why it is that we are that way. And that's the hard part about life, because a lot of us haven't necessarily even chosen to be this way. The guy who I'm talking about right now, who overcame that, who so far has overcome that, his life isn't over yet. Who knows, he may collapse any day, we don't know. But there was something in his background that raised him up to be that way. It wasn't entirely a choice. And if we're on the other side where we just kind of fall down at the slightest wind of challenge, there's something in us that we've been kind of brought up this way. And it's hard for us to see any other way. It just feels normal and natural to us. And it's the water that we swim in, unfortunately. And I hope you know I'm not telling you this as a again, a finger wagging kind of a you should be this way, you should be that way. I'm not even telling you how you should be. I don't know how you should be. It's your life, and you know way more about yourselves than I only know like 3 of your names. You think I know more? You think I know enough about your life to tell you how you should be, where you should go? Certainly not. I'm just telling you that there are these two kinds of characters out there, and a few in between, of course. And which one we choose is going to be up to us. It is a choice that we make. Hope here, this idea that we hope for something. Oh, I hope I get good grades. I hope I make it in life. I hope I get money. I hope that I get into a good relationship. Hope is when we confuse that with a desire for something. I really want it, and so because I really want it, it's probably going to happen, right? All I gotta do is just like dream big enough. And if I just dream and hope big enough, things will come true. No. He's saying it's when we confuse our desire with the probability of it actually happening. There's very little connection between your desire for something and the probability of it happening, unless there's a lot of stuff in between there, which is the desire should motivate us to drive us to go get that thing. And the truth of the matter is you're probably going to get what you want in life. You're probably going to get what you want in life. You're probably going to get, if money is like your central focus, you're probably going to get it. It's the truth. Now, you're going to have to give up other things, and you have to figure out what you're willing to give up in the process. If you're going to be working 50, 60 hours a week, you're probably going to be prosperous. You're probably going to work hard. You're going to earn lots of money. But that 50, 60 hours a week also means things like you aren't going to be able to commit yourself to any kind of exercise, which means that your health is going to suffer, so you're probably going to die earlier than most people, regardless of how much money you have and how good of medical insurance you have. Your health is going to suffer. You're not going to be able to enjoy life quite the same way because of your ill health. You're not going to be able to spend as much time with your family as somebody who works 35 to 40 hours. Somebody who works 35 to 40 hours, they won't make as much money. They won't make nearly as much money. That extra 10 hours a week is going to be the difference between being rich and being just kind of average. But if you're average, that means that you're going to have an exceptional relationship with your family probably, because you can put the time into that. There's nothing about having it all. Like you think about someone like Elon Musk, who's the richest man in the world. And if you look at his relationship with his children, it's quite public. One of his children just recently changed her name because she wanted nothing to do with him, not even his last name. And we might look at it and go, wow, he has everything. He has everything, but he doesn't have every benefit. He doesn't have every emotion. He doesn't have every positive psychological experience. Life is a series of trade-offs. You can sleep, or you can eat. You can eat, or you can work. You can work, or you can party. You can party, or you can study. You can study, or, and so on and so on and so on. And the important thing is not for anybody to come along and tell you how you should live your life. You know how you should live your life. I don't know if there's any of us in here who don't really know how we should. The question is, how do we want to? And when you decide how you want to, commit yourself entirely 100% in that direction. Otherwise, whichever path you choose is going to be half-assed, and whichever one you kind of choose is going to be half-assed as well. It's better to be, probably, I think we'd all agree, it's better to be great in one area than mediocre in several areas. And so whatever your choice is, choose it. Take it, own it. And people will criticize you, but people are going to criticize you anyway. If you're going to be rich, people are going to criticize you for that. If you're poor, people are going to criticize you for being poor. If you have a great or a terrible relationship, people are going to criticize you. Who cares? And that is a real question. Who cares? Because some people, a lot of us do. And there's reasons for it, of course. But don't confuse a desire like, I really want this thing up here, with it actually manifesting. You have to put yourself out there and work towards that thing. And it's the working towards the thing that's problematic, because that means having to exclude everything else in your life. So whatever it is you choose, just make sure it's something that really is something that you're passionate about, something that you really do want. And if you commit yourself to it, there's a very, very good chance you're going to get it. But make sure also, by the way, that when you're pursuing the things that you want, that they also happen to be the things that you need. And those are two very different things as well. So I hope that the things that you pursue are what you want, and I hope the things that you want are the things that you need, and that you get both of those things. But it might shock you. It might shock you to find out the things that you really needed, versus the things that you wanted. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Thursday?
Happy Thursday.
Yeah. It's not too much of a downer, I hope.